guys, welcome to the OH.Report video podcast. I'm your host, Brian Skoronsky. On today's episode, we'll break down the game. That's right, going down to the big house coming up on Saturday. Do the Buckeyes have what it takes to get it done? We're all going to talk about that. The boys' high school basketball season tips off this week, too, and we're keeping our eye on a few teams around the area. Me and the gentlemen will fill you in on who it is that excites us the most. And it is final 4 week for high school football. We got a couple of teams still marching on their quest for a state championship within grasp. We're going to break down a couple of those games as well. And you can see it's a Victory Monday here for us Browns fans, so back looking fresh and fly, and still no Victory Mondays for our resident Lions fan, Storm Blunchley over here. But man, what a game that you Lions put together. Well, at least it was close. It's just something weird happens when the Browns and Lions get together. It's just a different level of sport.
Yeah, it's always fun. I can't say the same about being a Lions fan in general, but
Yeah.
you know, we're here. We're not going to go in 17. I'm still riding that high from last week, so I mean, I can't complain.
My dude. And then Garrett G-Man Parlett, your Vikings big win against the Packers yesterday. I imagine you feeling big and strong today, buddy.
Oh, yeah, you know, the wins against the Packers always feel better, and especially now, sitting at 500, could be a scary team if we make the playoffs.
Got a couple of Steelers fans, too, on the panel, including Hayden Gray. Exciting fourth quarter, though, last night against the Chargers.
Yeah, I can't complain. I mean, for what we had out there, Ben Roethlisberger, as old as he is, coming off no practice, it was entertaining. So I was entertained, and Ohio State with a huge statement win. So, you know, that balances it out. I'm feeling all right.
And last but not least, Travis Brady. I mean, your Steelers go down. They put up a battle. But how about your Mountaineers, huh? West Virginia Country Roads getting it done.
Yeah, horns down. Horns down. We beat Texas. One win away from being bowl eligible. But the Steelers, actually, going into that fourth quarter, I was kind of agitated. After that fourth quarter, I have some confidence now. The offense is actually going. Ben Roethlisberger slinging the ball like it's 2010 once again. I was kind of excited about that. Defense was absolute trash, but I expected that with Minkah Fitzpatrick, Joe Hayden, T.J. Watt out. I guess, you know, something to look forward to next week when we hopefully beat the Bengals and get back into the playoff race. But right now, it's okay. Mountaineers won.
Yeah.
Country Roads.
Yeah, AFC North, wide open, man. Nobody wants to win
yeah.
that division for whatever reason. All right, let's get back to the high school ranks, and let's talk about the state Final Four. Actually, we're going to discuss a little bit about the regional championship games that just went down that we covered on the OH.Report this last week, beginning with West Holmes. How about the Knights, still undefeated on the season, Travis, going on to the state Final Four for the first time in program history? How'd they do it?
Well, let's just get into the highlights, and I'll show you how they did it.
Cool.
Holy name, they'll draw first blood. Javon Williams on the keeper, and he's going to ride the green wave into the end zone. 36 yards. It's 7-0. But the Knights strike back. Sam Williams-Dixon, the sophomore, burst through the hole, and ain't no one going to catch him. 44 yards. We are tied at 7. Then after a Holy Name fumble on the kickoff, Dixon out of the Wildcat. West Holmes leads 14-7, but the Wave answer back. Crisden Sanchez is going to weave his way through traffic. Nobody is going to take him down. 30 yards, we're tied at 14. After a Knights field goal, they will extend on their lead. Brett Shearer fights his way to the goal line, and he will not be denied. Touchdown, 24-14 Knights at the break. Second half, Williams chips into the deficit on a sweep untouched, 24-21. Then the Knights backed deep in their own territory, but not anymore. Sam Williams-Dixon, that's my ball. 44-yard catch in traffic. That'll set him up for a swing pass from Noah Clark. He scores. West Holmes wins its first regional title, 31-21, and what a performance by Sam Williams-Dixon, Brian.
I've got some numbers for you about that gentleman. How about 28 carries? That's a lot. Went for $149. 2 times he went into the end zone. And, oh, by the way, great pass catcher, as you saw in the moving pictures. 4 times he caught the ball for 91 yards, got into the end zone as well. Is this the best two-way player you think you've seen all season in terms of rushing and receiving?
Yes, and for the fact that he is a sophomore. And I talked to him about this in the post-game. Freshman year, nobody knew about him until the second half of the season with Loudonville. We saw him with our own eyes when they knocked off Northmore in the playoffs, had that run to, I believe, a regional semifinal behind him. And when we saw that he moved to West Holmes with Noah Clark and all the options that they had, we started thinking maybe they were going to be OCC favorites. Maybe they had a chance to do something special, and he has blossomed throughout this year, and he's only a sophomore. We get 2 more years of watching him do this stuff, and I think he's just going to get better, and I think, remember this in 2 years, I think he has a chance to be Mr. Football in Ohio if he keeps doing what he's doing.
He's definitely on the right track for that, so I agree he at least will be in the mix if he takes his game to another level, which is going to be hard to do because he's over 1,000 yards rushing, going to be over 1,000 yards
he's about
receiving
20 yards
next
away,
week,
so
too.
he'll get that probably in the state semifinal.
Broke the school record, too, for most touchdowns in a single season. Defensively, they're pretty good, too, at all 3 levels. What would you say about this West Holmes team is most sticks out to you when you watch them play? On offense, they got a great senior quarterback. You talked about the sophomore running back a bunch, but then defensively, they can get after you up front. They got a great secondary. What do you like most about this team?
It's just a whole complete team. They play together. Some of these teams you see, maybe a Sam Williams-Dixon does it himself, doesn't really hand it off to other people, but they just play together. If Shearer gets a handoff, takes it to the hole, you see everybody else swarming around him. If you see Sam Williams-Dixon get a big play, everybody plays together. Nobody plays for themselves. And this defense, they did give up a couple big plays, but holy name, they had some big players. They just, they're constantly playing for each other. They're swarming to each other. They're giving 100% the whole time. And this team, they had a chip on their shoulder. 3 regional championship appearances before last Friday. Unable to do it. They wanted to get this one not only for themselves, but for their school, for their city. And they feel like they have a chance of doing something really special this year. And they're playing together for it.
Speaking of a team trying to win 3 straight regional championships, how about the Maslin Tigers playing at Arlen Field for the 2nd week in a row? And wow, what a finish we saw on Friday night in the D2 Region 7 final. Hayden Gray, you were there. The Green Bulldogs, baby. They just never quit, and they made the play at the end when it mattered most.
Yeah, it was truly a magical atmosphere down there. Again, 2nd week in a row that Maslin got to come down after the switch of venues. That West Holmes game was actually going to be at Arlen. They switched that. Up based off of anticipated crowds, and that definitely did not disappoint. So it was an instant classic. So let's roll those pictures and find out how that happened. So as I said, atmosphere set up from start to finish after warm-ups. The place was electric. So both teams are going to be coming out there ready to rip. And we start things off with Tiger quarterback Darius McElroy. He found his way into the end zone on a 15-yard touchdown. That's going to put up Maslin early after an interesting fumble call, 7-0. But we're going to go back and forth a lot in this game. Green would respond as Trevor Van Horn connects with wide receiver Trey Martin. 15-yard touchdown, and I can assure you, it's definitely not going to be the last time you're going to see Trey Martin on this highlight. So they get things tied up 7 apiece, and we're going to continue to go back and forth. Next score is going to be none other than McElroy again, who was just doing it all night for Maslin. Couldn't slow him down. 8-yard touchdown. He scrambles into the end zone. They're going to get the extra point. It's going to be 14-7, and that was his 2nd touchdown of the game. As you see that breath, it was a cold night down there. Then next, on a pass, it was going to be looking like it went to Trey Martin, but actually Van Horn's going to connect with Zachary Baglia in the corner, so they would miss the PAT here, which was interesting. So it's going to be 14-13, tough when you can't cut into that lead and get it back tied up. But then we're going to go straight to the 3rd quarter and keep going back and forth. And this play is absolutely ridiculous.
Oh.
I feel like I shouldn't talk much because just the effort by Trey Martin on that 75-yard touchdown was insane. So he made it in. They did not get the 2-point conversion, so we're at 19-14. So this one, it was hard for either team to pull away. And then none other than McElroy. He's going to take it in 45 yards. Every single touchdown from the Tigers tonight had that dude's name on it. So he's going to put them back up 22-19 after they got the 2. Then Shane Rue's going to drill a 35-yarder to make it a 6-point game. And then here's the most pivotal moment. Maslin was driving, looking around at the clock. You get a fumble on the 50.
Wow.
So Green's going to drive down. Van Horn got to hit Trey Martin, corner of the end zone.
Who else?
Ball game, and, it was just unreal. A couple penalties got them in that position, so just a really special game, especially after they won last week against Worcester. You're going to see Trey Martin and Coach, probably an unforgettable moment they won't forget. They're going to host the trophy, and they're going to be playing for a state Final Four.
Trey Martin, 3 more touchdowns this week, including the game winner. Last week, Trey Martin, 3 touchdowns, including the game-winning interception. What more can be said about this dude and what he brings to the team on both sides of the football? I love how much he was chirping because he wasn't talking to the opponent. He was talking to his own guys and talking to the fan base and just making sure that everybody was engaged, and boy, were they until that final horn.
Yeah, definitely. It was kind of a heated game, too. There was a lot of chattering going on between students over on green side with Maslin, and I actually heard one of their coaches say with Martin over there, they're focused on our student session, y'all are focused on the game. And the leadership of Trey Martin definitely, it's been there, but it just blossomed. He talked about, they've been trying to prove people wrong for 4 years, not just this postseason.
Right.
And so he's definitely a senior leader for them.
Bit of an underseeded team, too, to emerge from this. They're going to have to play against a perennial power. Winton Woods out of Cincinnati won Region 8. I imagine you at least got to give Green a fighting chance to keep on doing what they're doing. I think a lot of people counted them out against Maslin, and there they were in the game at the very end making the plays when they needed to.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of doubters. I talked with Trey about that. He feels like they've been having to prove something since he was a freshman, but especially this year. And I had my doubts. Last week on the podcast, I said, Green really needs to get ready because after Maslin shut out Big Walnut, a number 1 seed, Maslin's always there, and they're another one of those historical perennial powerhouses. Green just doesn't let that get to them. They're going to play who's in front of them no matter what. And, yeah, I think you always got to give them a fighting chance now. I think I saw we already have a Green fan watching the podcast today, so they're going to be happy with this. But I definitely give them a fighting chance with whoever they're playing because they just play their game. They didn't freak out when you go down to Maslin like that. It was right out of the gate, a questionable fumble. Momentum can shift so quick, and when there's so many fans there for Maslin, that's a tough environment to come back in, but they just play really well. They play together, and interesting enough, they're a team that really doesn't even run the ball. They'll throw 55, 60 times a game, and they're just comfortable doing what they do. So I don't think you can doubt them out, and I think that they deserve to be in the state Final Four.
With Trey Martin on the field, you always got a chance.
And how cool was it to see Arlen Field packed to the brim for that regional championship
It holds
game?
over 10,000.
That place is awesome when you get fans in the stands. I know we said when Mansfield Senior made their state championship game run a couple years ago, you saw the stands get packed. But how cool of a venue is that, Hayden, when you get every seat packed?
It's amazing. I mean, when I was there for the Big Walnut game, it was probably the largest crowd I've seen there in a long time. And then when I found out that they switched this game to accommodate that, I'm like, I already know. I'd seen where Green, awesome thing by their athletic boosters, paid for any kid who wanted to go. They picked up the cost of the ticket. So
wow.
I knew it was going to be packed. And as you said, it's just so special. And that's why, honestly, plug our YouTube channel. If you want to just hear the sights and sounds without any music, just raw sound, it was that special. It deserved a video of its own. So it was really neat. And both of these places, I mean, they packed that house.
And it's not over for the Green Bulldogs. They're going to be marching on. And let's switch now to Small School Saturday. Got another dandy of a game that G-Man got to see between Warren JFK and Dalton. This one came all the way to overtime before it was decided. In the playoff atmosphere, it just don't get much better than that, G-Man.
Yeah, Warren JFK coming off a big win against Lucas. Dalton was coming off a big win against Lucas, and they looked to roll. But JFK, man, they came out at halftime, and they really asserted their dominance. Let's roll the highlights and see what happened. They would fall down early, and this would be the reason why. Jaden Schleibach's going to take this one all the way down into the red zone. I believe he goes out around the 10-yard line. Couldn't walk the tightrope into the end zone, but nonetheless, the QB and his number 1 wide receiver, Ethan Stutz, is going to hit Jade Malone for the toe drag swag right there. Touchdown, 7-0. Dalton up early. Jaden Schleibach is going to take this one up the middle. He's going to wiggle 3, couple jump cuts, 17-yard rushing touchdown for Dalton. That's a double-digit lead before half. They would miss the PAT, though. That would be crucial. JFK would storm back, and it will be the Antoine Brown show for the rest of the second half. It all started with his 4-yard touchdown run to the outside, cut the lead to 7. They would miss the PAT as well. Dalton couldn't stop this jet sweep all night long, and Antoine Brown is going to take this one 41 yards all the way into the back of the end zone. This drive started at the 1-yard line. They took it 99 yards. It's going to be tied at 13 apiece. They headed to OT. JFK would get the ball first. Caleb Hadley would take it in for a 1-yard touchdown. And this would be the play of the game right here. Antoine Brown with the game-sealing interception to send the Eagles to the Final Four. Antoine Brown would have 244 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns on 20 carries, and, of course, the game-winning interception as you see them hoisting the trophy as they're headed to the Final Four.
Something that they do a lot. JFK, perennial power in the small school. Dalton, too, by their own right. They're one of those teams that you expect to be in it, and they certainly were there. They built a big lead. You feel like they kind of fizzled out and came apart under the pressure? Would you give more credit to the Eagles and JFK for coming back?
I think they seemed a little conservative because they came out. I believe Dalton got a stop on the first possession in the second half, and they could have drove down the field and really shut out Warren JFK, and that really would have been the end of it. But Warren JFK responded defensively. They shut down Jade Malone. I believe Antoine Brown was locked up on him, shadowing him all game long. He said in his interview that they wanted him to play a little bit more physical and play a little bit more inside, and man, did it work. He was shut down the whole second half, and they couldn't establish a run game. Warren JFK showed up in the second half, but I think it was also a credit. Dalton went a little conservative. They didn't pass the ball as much and just try to run out the clock and try to not play to lose, but not play to win either.
Well, moving on to the state semifinals in Division 7, they get a rematch with Newark Catholic. Actually beat them last year in the state Final Four. Are you expecting more of the same, or you see the Green Wave toppling these guys?
Well, we only seen the Green Wave a little bit earlier this year, Brian. You got to see him against East Knox, but if they can get it into Antoine Brown's hands, they have a good chance. This dude is a stud athlete, one of the better players I've seen all year long. If they can shut down those outside reads and those outside zones to Antoine Brown, I see Newark Catholic picking up a big win. But, man, Warren JFK, you can never count them out because they were down 13-0. Game could have been over. They put their head down, got back to work, and got it done.
Yeah, awesome highlight right there, G-Man. Appreciate that. All right, in D6 Region 22, kind of no doubt about this one. Not quite the same close games that we saw in the first couple of highlights, Storm. Carrie, baby, getting it done. Big W.
Eric Wills, Carrie, baby. I mean, like I said, Carrie is just one of those teams that, more often than not, they're just better than you, and there's nothing you can really do about it. They're just bigger than you, more physical, and that's what we saw as we get into these moving pictures. And starting us off on this pretty cold night, I would say, would be Zane Zeter. As soon as we can get these pictures rolling.
Yeah, you were out on the sidelines for this. It was pretty cold out there. I saw some frost forming on your glasses, I think, at some points during the game, Storm.
It didn't start off super cold, but by the time the first quarter ended, I had to get my big heavy winter coat. That's when the temperature really started to drop. But Carrie didn't care as we get started. Zane Zeter would use the fake handoff to get the defense to bite before scampering into the zone to get us started off 7-0 in favor of the Tigers. Next up, Carrie would answer the Liberty Center score with a fake handoff of their own. This time, it would be Derek Lonsway who would take this ball all the way to pay dirt, evening things up at 7. Then Carrie would extend the lead on the QB short run by Lonsway. He gets rocked on the first hit, but keeps the feet chopping and the legs moving to put Carrie on top of Liberty Center. Now look at the Carrie defensive line eating up the quarterback how they normally do. Zeter this time out of shotgun and the Carrie line is already in the backfield. Take a lick as he lets it go. Floats this one up, and Evan Conrad goes up and gets it. Then Carrie on offense, and Lance Rickle gets a hit for his troubles. 3-step drop back for Lonsway as he finds Bryce Conti, who makes an uber athletic play, stretching out to grab this pass and get the Blue Devils into the red zone. Anthony Bell now with Carrie knocking on the door, and he would carry this one into the end zone for another Blue Devil score, and Liberty Center would actually block this PAT, but in the long run it would not matter as Jordan Vallejo would be doing what he does best on this play, and that is moving mountains. Just look at the strength and determination on this play to move the pile and get as many yards as possible. And I think at this point you just have to call this the Vallejo effect. Once you get ran over enough times, you just don't even try as the line just lets Vallejo run through for another big game. And now on the goal line, who else but Vallejo for another short yardage touchdown. And then the Tigers trying to mount any sort of comeback, but the Blue Devils D-line would have something to say about it, doing what they do best to squash the Liberty Center comeback, and that would bring us to our final score of 31-7 in favor of the Blue Devils.
Well, there's big teams, Storm, and then there's super-sized teams. And I think that's probably the number one factor. Would you say is that Carrie, they're just so big in their backs. You talked about Vallejo. He's 270, about 6'2", made our Travis Berardi look like a tiny little troll guy in the post-game interview. And then his lead back is about 250 as well. That's not common for high school kids.
No, not at all. I mean, I'm 21 years old, and I'm 270 and 5'10", so, I mean, he's 3-4 years younger than I am, and he can move like that. The way he moves and just his size, I mean, if I'm any team, I don't want to go up against that on any night.
And it's special, too, that completion that you saw, the Bryce Conti, that was the only time that they completed a ball all night because they don't have to throw it. They can line up and out-physical you. But I want to hear your thoughts about the defense. Zeter gets that touchdown run to kick off the game. It looks like, hey, we might be in for a shootout. Liberty Center scores on their opening drive, held scoreless after that. How ferocious was that defensive front, and then getting the help, of course, at the next two levels?
Yeah, after that score, I was actually looking forward to seeing a very exciting high school football game. But I mean, Carrie's defense. We saw their defensive line just pretty much before the snap even happens. They're already in the backfield, and their secondary as well. They don't need to do much, but when they need to step up and make a play, I mean, they always do. Their defense is just as good, if not better, as their offense, and I think a lot of it starts with how physical their defensive line is. Football is a physical game, and usually the guy who's more physical is going to win, especially down in the trenches on that front line, and that's just what Carrie takes pride on, I think.
They have a running back who's nicknamed the Winnebago because he's almost that size. I see your comment here, Jason, and it's true. So I am a older person, but I definitely would not be interested in tackling that guy right there at all. I bet there's some small college teams that wouldn't be interested in taking that smoke throughout the course of a game. Unbelievable performance by Carrie. That's why they're moving on to the state Final Four.
Like I said, the Vallejo effect. You get ran over enough times. I'm sure it's not fun, especially with how cold it was getting.
All right, let's jump into some Final Four previews now. Let's begin with Division III, the bigger schools. Everybody is still undefeated, so we are going to have a champion unblemished on the year. Travis, you just can't get much better than that. You're talking about, what, two 14-0 teams that are going to play each other and two 13-0s. That's a whole lot of goose eggs, and everybody coming in feeling like, they're the world beater because nobody's beat them yet.
Yeah, this is exactly what you need in the playoffs. You need these teams undefeated, best teams in your region, no upsets coming through here. You're expecting to get here, and with this West Holmes team undefeated coming in here, you could say, a team of destiny, Brian? I don't know.
Could be. First trip to the Final Four.
Adding Sam Williams-Dixon from Loudonville last year was, I think, that piece, because last season they were good enough to get a couple upsets as a lower seed in that extended playoff year. But they were thinking, you thought maybe they could have made a better run if they had one or two more pieces, and they got that extra piece in Sam Williams-Dixon in a big way, and it's running them to a state Final Four. And I know they're going up against the defending 3-time state champs, but they have what it takes.
How big of an impact do you think that's going to have, though, G-Man? Experience and all these Hilltoppers. You've seen them last year win and hoist the big trophy at the end of the season. The fact that they have that big game experience, you think that's going to pay off for them?
I think definitely it's going to, because they've been here time before, and they know what it takes to win a state championship. And just looking off this year's numbers, man, they've only allowed one team over 14 points all year long in the playoffs. They've dominated almost every team they've played. Chardon has. So I think West Holmes, they got the skill players outside to be able to attack this defense the way they want to, but it's going to be tough, especially with an experienced head coach that Chardon has. West Holmes is going to be on their A game.
Storm, you got to see this team a couple times live and in the flesh. West Holmes, what do you think they bring to the table that convinces you that they have what it takes to get it done, knock off the 3-time defending state title holders?
Well, I like to go with a more whimsical answer, like Travis said. I think it's a team of destiny, but on the gridiron, I think that they're just a really complete team. Their defense is stellar, and offensively, wow, they just have athletes at every single position. It's going to be hard, to stop them defensively, but you're in the state semifinal for a reason. If you're not the best, you're not here.
Last word on this matchup, Hayden. Just go ahead, break it down. Be crazy, bro. Who's going to win? Why?
The team of destiny, it kind of feels right. Sometimes, I don't know what it is, but you just have those feelings that, things are going right for this team, and it just feels like it's fate. It just feels like it's bound to happen, and I don't think they'll win by fate, but I think that they've got that vibe to them, while Chardon has that experience, which is crucial. West Holmes definitely has the guys we've talked about, and I think they just play with a swagger where they're not afraid, and that will help carry you to a point where you can beat someone that's defended it the last 3 years. So I like West Holmes.
You've got a feeling. It's going to be the West
That's right.
Holmes?
Yeah.
All right.
I'll take it.
Heard it here first, folks. Let's talk about Division 6 now, guys. Carrie got a big matchup coming up. They got to go against the defending state runners-up from a season ago in New Middletown Springfield. Saturday in Twinsburg. Should be the first playoff game, I guess, that the Blue Devils aren't considered like a favorite in the game. So what do you think about Carrie's chances here going up against a team, again, like we were just talking with Chardon? They have the experience, and especially their senior quarterback. He's played in a ton of big games. He's broken a lot of school records.
This Carrie team, they wear you down. They have a big physical line on both sides. They have Jordan Vallejo, who you need 4 or 5 people to just get him down. I think if Carrie can just play their game, play Carrie football, baby, as Eric Will would say, wear down that Chardon defensive line, wear down the offensive line with a lot of blitzing, a lot of physical play up front, I think it will give them a good chance at pulling off this win.
Okay, fair enough. Let's go around the room real quick here. Actually, they're playing New Middletown Springfield. Chardon will be playing West Holmes.
G-Man, give me a reason why you think Carrie can get it done. Give me one.
Their running back weighs 270 pounds.
That's a very fair point.
You don't. I don't know how many times I've explained this multiple times on the podcast. It is so hard to tackle a guy that runs super physical for 4 quarters, especially when it starts to get cold. And with a defense like that, what's so good in the playoffs and what travels is the running game and defense, and that is exactly what Carrie does the best, I think, in this area. I think, like I said last week, I think Carrie has a serious shot at winning the state title this year. I don't think anybody is going to want to tackle Jordan Vallejo one-on-one in space. You're going to need 3 or 4 guys to bring him down. I think they run the ball, control time of possession. I think they're going to be heading for a state championship.
He's pretty fleet of foot, too. How many times did we see him this season spin out of would-be tacklers? Because, like you said, it takes an army to be able to bring down that big human. Storm, give me a reason why you see the Blue Devils marching on.
I agree. I think whoever came out of that region, whether it be Archibald, Crestview, or Carrie, I mean, they're gonna win a state championship. I mean, they are just that region is just so stacked, and Carrie is just so stacked. I mean, basically everything that Garrett said. Jordan Vallejo's a monster, and their defense is, like I said, if not as good as is better than their offense.
Their defensive ends are crazy.
Yeah,
they really are. They get after the quarterback like almost every single play. They're in your backfield. I'm going to go with one of the little guys, though. How about Bryce Conti? You know, we give all the love to the big guys up front, but he basically is as good as I think we have in the area in terms of being a shutdown corner. You don't want to throw his way. He has interceptions just about every single week. I think he's averaging about 1 per game. So if you can line up against the other team's best wide receiver and kind of make them a non-factor, I think that could be huge for the Devils, especially with how they get after you on the defensive line. Hayden, what do you think?
I agree. I think that defense is a massive part as well, as much as Vallejo. I mean, you look what they did last week, only giving up. I like to say, too, once you get past maybe that second or third round of playoffs, I toss seeds out the window. I forget who's got the better seed because everyone's kind of at that point meant to be there. I mean, they just dismantled. That felt like a week 2 non-conference game where they were just the upper hand, and they dismantled number 5 Liberty Center. So I think their defense, combined with the fact that they don't have to worry about running the ball, they know that's going to happen, and they know they're going to have success with that. I think that makes them a real threat, and very similar to West Holmes. I mean, I heard Eric Will every week when we come back to do the pigskin talk about them, and I always wanted to see it. I wasn't at the Crestview game in person, but I see what happened, and then now I have all the proof I need to think that they're probably the best team in that bracket.
Okay, well, before I let you answer, Travis, and give me one good thing, let me give you some numbers about the quarterback that they're going to be going against, okay? Bo Brungard for the Tigers, over 6,000 career passing yards, over 3,600 rush yards. He's been into the end zone 141 times during his career. He also played in the state championship game just last season, and if it wasn't for one of the craziest final minutes of football I've ever seen, where Coldwater got a crazy punt return and then kicked the game-winning field goal, he'd be a state champion too. What do you think?
What do they have running back wise other than him? Because it seems like he's the dual threat quarterback that does it all.
He is. I don't know. You want me to look? Let me see what I can find. He's a bowling ball. He wears number 21 from the quarterback position. So do you need a running back if you're doing that?
It's a red flag.
Well, that's, if you could if that Carrie line can key on him and not have to worry about that running back, maybe they would have a chance. And like I said, if they can wear down that offensive line, they'll have a chance of getting back to him. But it's going to be the line play, I think, because you have a guy like Bryce Conti that can pull off an interception per game. That might be the one game-changing play against this quarterback. But it's going to be the play of the line on both sides. Carrie is a big physical line on either side, and then when you have a bowling ball Winnebago like Jordan Vallejo behind them, they can control their pace. They can run the ball. They can run time off the clock. And if they can get a stop or two against this dual threat quarterback, they're going to be right in this game.
And a great point that Jeff Hill points out here on our chat that's going on the Facebook is Jordan Vallejo just plays offense.
Yeah.
They could use him because he's so big and physical on the defensive line, or put him at linebacker because he's so fast. But they're like, dude, we have so many other good players that are big and physical. We don't need you to do that. Save your energy for offense. And they give him on average 20 carries per game. And I think it's how they've been able to get to this point. There he is. It's hard to look at that guy and think that he's a running back.
Yeah, I like that comment from Jeff because it actually kind of reminded me, I'm like, what other team has that luxury to use someone who would be probably the biggest offensive lineman or defensive lineman anywhere else? And it's almost like Lucas. Like, Lucas gets to use some of those bigger guys because of the offense they run, and they're just good at doing that. So it's almost a similar thing there. I mean, Carrie's offensive line, Vallejo would probably be like a starting guard on that, but they open it up so good for him that he can play running back. So it's a great point.
Well, if you guys haven't noticed from the weather outside, winter is coming, okay? It is here. And when winter shows up, you know what happens? Basketball season arrives on the scene too. That's right. The boys tip off this week, and we've got our eye on a few teams right here in our own backyard of North Central Ohio. So we're going to share 3 teams each that we feel like can do some things this year, or maybe just we want to know what they are going to be about because maybe they graduated some guys or they got some dudes coming into the fold. Storm, we'll let you kick off the conversation. Who you watching this year? Who you want to see?
Well, I'll keep my list short since we got a lot of teams to go through, but my top 3 I think that I'm going to be watching are Ashland, Crestview, and Mansfield Senior, and I'll just run through a couple bullet points I have. Ashland, they're returning a lot of talent in specifically Luke Denbo. I mean, the dude's a stud. I don't think I even have to go into any more detail about him. Everyone knows about him. He's just really good. Crestview, John Kurtz returning as their head coach. He is a phenomenal coach. They lost Evan Hamilton, who was their stud player, but they still have a lot of young talent to build around. And lastly, Mansfield Senior. They're just always good at basketball. I mean, that is a basketball school. Just everything about the Tigers I like.
Tell me a little bit more about the Cougars and just your expectations for them. You graduated in All-Ohio, and I know they got a lot of parts and pieces back. They're going to have John Kurtz, second year now back with the program. Do you expect them to be as good as last season?
I don't know about this season be as good as last season, but in a couple seasons I definitely see it. I just think that we should all watch them because I think they're a really big sleeper team. I think a lot of guys, just like in football, a lot of people are sleeping on them. They lost Evan Hamilton, but I mean, Heath Cash is one heck of a point guard, and they got a lot of good depth on that Crestview squad.
So don't count out the Tigers, says Storm. G-Man, who you watching for?
My list, I'm going to start with Colonel Crawford. They won the Ensign pretty easily last year. They returned a lot of key pieces as well, such as Ensign Player of the Year Carter Valentine, Mason Studer, another key piece, and they're typically always up for that conference title. I think they're going to have another chance to do it again this year. My second pick is going to be with Ashland as well as Storm, and my main reason is also going to be Luke Denbo. I love the way he plays, too. He's a very feisty guy, very quick, and plays with a lot of passion. That's exactly what you want out of your floor general. And I think the team will go as far as he goes. He's averaged 18.2 points per game, and he led them to their first win since 2014 and 2015 in the tournament. So expect Ashland to compete in that OCC. Worcester is another team I'm looking at, also in the OCC. They're returning a couple key players that might lend to them to winning another OCC crown. Drew Dawsey will return as well as Michael McKee. They did lose a few key players, though. I believe Braden Hamilton transferred to Brunswick, so he's a big piece for the Generals. But it will be a tight race, though, with Ashland and Mansfield in that conference. But I think Worcester will have a little bit of piece of the pie in there, too.
Do you think they're going to be the favorite in the conference this year?
I don't know, man. I like Ashland. I really like that Luke Denbo kid. I think he's a very good player. But Worcester, it seems as if I've been covering sports for a couple years now. They're always in that basketball OCC race, so I expect them to at least be in the middle of the pack.
Oh, the middle of the pack, says G-Man about Worcester. They're typically right up at the top. Travis, who you watching this year? Why?
First off, Mansfield Senior. I know a bunch of us are excited at what the TY Tigers can do, especially, just with that coaching staff that they have over there in Marquise Sykes and company. Defensive game plan is what they do at Mansfield Senior, and I think they'll turn some heads this year and possibly make a good tournament run. My second team, Ashland, OCC Player of the Year, Luke Denbo, and I believe Grayson Stury as well coming back as a junior this year. He was a big contributor to last year's Ashland squad. I think they're going to make some noise. And in a team under the radar that nobody's talking about much, the Lexington Minutemen. They were young last year, only 4 wins, but they return everybody back from that squad, including Baden Forup He was second team All-OCC, All-District 6 and Northwest District Honors. As a sophomore, averaged 11.4 points. He's 6'6", big guy down low. And Hudson Moore, he's a 6'3" post player, averaged 9.2 points and was honorable mention All-OCC. Coach Scott Hamilton going back to defense down there at Lexington. And they're a team, they had that year. Last year, COVID, as a young squad, they didn't get a chance to really, develop as a team in the off season. This year they have a full off season. They had, also last year playing those games, only 4 wins, but they had that experience coming into this year, and I think they're a team that, they get a couple upsets early on, has a chance to compete for an OCC.
So you're going all OCC teams then.
Yes, I am.
Tell me, predict the future for me. Rank those 3 teams. Where are they going to fall in the conference rankings by the end of the year?
I'm going to go Ashland, Senior, Lexington. 1, 2, 3.
What about Woo?
Well, Woo wasn't a part of his mix. Do you feel like Worcester will have a better season than any of those 3 teams, or do you see the Generals actually having a little bit of a dip?
You have to put Worcester always in there in the top.
You do.
In the top 4. I don't know. Like I said, if Lexington can pull off a couple upsets, maybe they get ahead. But Worcester, they're always in that conference, consideration for a championship. But I think those other 3 have a chance of competing with them.
All right, so Travis is telling us there's a chance. What are you telling us, Hayden? Who are you watching?
Mine's going to be pretty short list. Being up at school the last few years, haven't followed local high school basketball as close as I have football, but I do know a little bit. One team I'm interested in watching is seeing how the Shelby Whippets are going to return this year.
Homer.
Coming off a 20-4 season. I mean, conference champs, and they have some guys, a talented group of guys coming back. A lot of those from the football field, specifically Marshall Shepard, Andre Hill, multi-sport athletes. So we'll see how they do. I have Mansfield Senior on there as well, just based off of what I saw last year and the hype I've been hearing around them from all y'all this year. I'm excited to see them. I know that they always seem to put together a good season. And then finally, this one I guess is kind of a sleeper. We'll see. We talked about it earlier a little bit, but I'm going to throw the Ontario Warriors into the mix.
Yeah.
They went 16-6 last season. Finished third in the conference, and this year we'll have a brand new head coach for the first time in, I believe we said
36 years. I think Joe Baylog was there.
So first time in 36 years. They have Madison's former head coach coming over there. I know he's done some good productive things at Madison before, so we'll see what he's able to do over with the Warriors, but I would like to keep an eye on them just based off the fact that it's a tough thing to do to switch coaches after almost 40 years.
I don't envy Tim Mergel and what he's going to have to do.
It's a tough job.
No question about that, because Joe Baylog's so beloved and so good and so much success. Let's see. Of your 3 teams, who am I most interested in following up on? How about Shelby? So they're, I believe, the 2-time defending champions in the MOAC. They graduate their top 2 performers, both playing college basketball, or at least, well, one of them is still playing. I seen Cody Lance just hit a game winner the other night. Let's go, buddy. How about that? Do you feel like they can compete again for a league title, given that there's a lot of turnover this year?
I think it'll be close. I think they can definitely compete if they're scrappy and start clicking. I mean, only dropping 4 games last year. River Valley, though, finished second last year, and they're a team that I know is going to be pretty good again this season, so they're going to have to win. I think if they want to repeat 3 times in a row, similar to football, you're definitely going to have to be looking at over 15 wins, 16 wins, so it'll be a team to keep an eye on to see if they can do that because turnover is always hard as well, trying to restart with a different group of guys. So they may look different offensively and defensively, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't really have a pulse on the MOAC and who's going to be good this year, who's going to separate. There may not be a juggernaut team. It might be really fun, a lot of parity in there. But I'm going to jump on the bandwagon, guys, with the Mansfield Senior. I think everyone is curious what the Tigers are going to do. They're all on our list. Not a very good year for you, Marquis Sykes, last year, below 500. I know that Mo Ware is coming back. Can he carry the team? I'm hearing about a couple of transfers that came in that didn't play for the Tigers last year. How big of pieces and parts are they going to be once the season starts? They're starting to dumb down their non-conference schedule a little bit. We used to see the Tigers play some of the bigger schools around the entire state and really test themselves. It looks like they're playing a little bit more traditionally to get some wins at this point, so I am curious to see if the Tigers can elevate themselves once again to be, they're the 4th winningest program in the history of the state. Are they the top team here in our area? They certainly have the cachet, but do they have the talent? We're going to find out this year. And Lucas,
the team that always seems to find talent. I don't know where they come from out there in the village, but replacing both of the Ethans, are they going to be able to keep up? Hopefully the Tom's kid is able to come back and be healthy. They're definitely going to need him this season to be successful, but no Ethan Sauter. That dude seemed like he started, 60 games for him, because I think that probably is a real number. Oh, I'm sorry, way more than that. 20 games per year in high school, plus all the deep runs that they made. 4-year starter and Ethan Sauter they're going to have to replace, so Taylor Eisman going to see who he puts out there to run the offense. We'll see if Tom's is healthy enough. And then Ashland, come on now. They're the most exciting team that I watched last year. They do not have the white kid anymore for that trio up top, but with Grayson Sturry and Luke Dembo, that's a good enough 1-2 punch to beat probably most teams in our area. But are they going to be good enough to overtake the Worcester Generals in the OCC? That's the only team that beat them in conference last year. They had just 2 losses, and it was Worcester that gave it to them. So I am very curious to see if Coach Hess has elevated that team to the next level where they are definitively the number 1 team in the OCC. That's going to be a fun conference, I think. We can all agree that one probably going to be top-heavy this year. 5-6 pretty good teams in there? Find out. All right. In the Big Ten, we thought there was like 5-6 good teams, but then, we saw this last weekend, number 7, Michigan State. Whoo! Buckeyes kind of took it to them, didn't they? Well, we got another test, at least on paper, coming up this week at the Big House. That's right, the game against that team up north. And we're going to begin the conversation on this one. What do you feel like the Buckeyes are going to do? Let's hear from a Michigan fan first. Oh, I said it. Shouldn't have. How do you feel about your Wolverines going against the Buckeyes?
I don't even watch college football. I won't even lie. It's not very much fun when you're a Michigan fan. Starting to get a little hard to watch Michigan basketball even. We just took a big loss to Arizona.
Yeah,
but
I saw that.
Keeping it on the football front, it's going to be a slaughter. It might be worse than it was.
Oh, wow.
Versus Michigan State.
So no faith in your guys at home?
No. As a Michigan fan, you don't get excited anymore. As long as
so sad.
As long as Harbaugh's head coach, there's no point. Might as well just act like this week doesn't exist.
Well, both teams are 10-1, G-Man. On paper, that team up north, I think statistically, is the best defensive team in the conference. Yeah, giving them a shot at least?
No. We've been down this road before, Brian. I believe they were the best defense a couple years ago when we had Dwayne Haskins, I believe, and we beat them like 62-39.
Yeah, wasn't close.
I think it's going to be like 35-7, 35-14 at half.
Wow.
And then I think Ohio State will blow it out of the waters. If there was a mercy rule, I think it would come into effect in this game. I think it might be just as bad against Michigan State, considering Michigan State did beat Michigan. I think the only factor would be if Michigan gets out to an early lead and then get the crowd behind them, but I don't know. Ohio State they're just too good, they're too resilient. I can't see them beating themselves, so I don't see this as being a close game. It hasn't been a close game the past couple of seasons. I don't know. I hope it's a close game though. It makes it a lot more entertaining to watch, so makes it an actual rivalry. So we'll see, but I Bucks by a million. I don't think it's gonna be close.
I'm honestly starting to lose track. So if one of you guys know, or somebody in the chat, how many straight years has Ohio State?
I think it's
these guys?
2011.
Yeah,
Since
it's
2011. I
deep.
think so.
Wow. And it's something like
17 out of the last 18.
So is this still a rivalry? I guess we save them for the last game of the year, but do you at least see it being close? Is it going to be competitive, Hayden?
I think we can, as G said, I think we genuinely agree that even though you despise the other team one another, it's still a little bit more fun when it comes to that game. It'll be fun to win by a million, as Garrett said. So don't get me wrong, but you as a fan when you're watching it, you want that entertainment, you want it close. I really don't. The only thing maybe they have going for them is there's going to be a lot of anticipation since they haven't played since 2019 because COVID last year. It's at the Big House, and statistically, like we said on paper, last time in 2019, these highlights, number 1 versus number 13. This year, they're both going to be in the top 10, so it has a little bit more meaning. So sometimes that can make things a little more interesting. But with the way they dismantled Michigan State, I think they're the scariest team in the country right now. So I think we will roll them easily.
Wow. So maybe we're all prisoners of the moment right now after we saw. Well, I guess the Buckeyes have been having it cooking here as of late. CJ Stroud has been almost perfect, definitely the last 2 weeks. So given that, Do you feel like the Buckeyes are going to keep the momentum rolling into the big house, Trav? Or do you feel like that team up north has a shot to be in the game, might even beat them?
So the early betting lines has Ohio State -7. I think they'll easily cover that. I think that spread also is going to go up in the double digits by kickoff. 13, 14 points, but I think the Buckeyes will easily cover. But I will warn you, as a Mountaineer fan, we were in this situation back in 2007 going into a game against a Pitt squad.
How did we know West Virginia would come up? Sorry, I'm listening.
WVU played Pitt, big rivalry game at home. Had big big favorites, overlooked them, blew it. Just don't do that. That's all I'm saying. Don't do it.
It's only at -7 right now.
Yeah, it opened up at -7. That's surprising.
That is literally a lock right now.
Especially, I mean,
place your bet.
are they not watching Captain Planet out there throw to Earth, Wind, and Fire? Are they missing the highlights that I've been seeing?
Easily a Heisman candidate now,
1,000-yard rusher, a 1,000-yard receiver, almost 3 1,000.
We're gonna have 3 1,000-yard
Heisman
receivers.
Favorite at QB. They're not stopping that offense.
Yes, it always does go to West Virginia, Adam.
So
Thanks for the lower third, bud.
Ohio State could put me at quarterback and they would still win. I mean, I can't.
I think we'll rather have CJ just for this week, Storm, if you don't mind. I'm just so happy for that kid, CJ Stroud, for all the flack that he took at the beginning of the year. I can't tell you how many Buckeyes fans were puffing their chests. Oh, get him out of there. Let's see this high school kid from Texas or whatever. Like, stop it. Give him a little bit of time to develop and look at what he's blossomed into, man. It has been a treat to watch the Buckeyes the last few weeks, and that's why I'm not really going to give Michigan a chance either. The offense is just too good. As you mentioned, Henderson's running the rock pretty well. We have 3 receivers that are unguardable. How many times did we make the Michigan State secondary look silly this last week? Wide open guys running into the back of the end zone. It was some next level stuff. So I know it's at the big house. That might be a factor for the Buckeyes, but not a big enough one. I think we're all picking Ohio State to roll in this one and get to the Big Ten title game and probably play Wisconsin again. Seems to always happen.
Yeah, probably.
So destroy them too.
Yeah, probably destroy them too. One quick fact that I wrote down about this game. Buckeyes have held 8 opponents to 24 points or less this year. If they do that, they got to win the game.
Easily.
Like, they can't be. Their offense can be held under 24.
Putting up more than 20.
No.
Yeah, Michigan doesn't move the ball that well, but they can defend.
But hey, we're still only number 4, so.
Still just number 4. Okay, guys, well, all of us here on the OH.Report love us some Thanksgiving, and hey, the week is finally upon us. We are looking forward to Turkey Day and what that brings with it, which is a whole mess of home cooking and some good, delicious bites. So we're going to build our perfect plate for you guys right here now and let you know how our Thanksgiving meal is going to look, at least how we fantasize about it. Garrett, I know that you take Thanksgiving very seriously, so how are you going to be constructing your plate on Thursday?
I don't know how well this is going to go over with the audience, but I am not a turkey guy.
Boo!
So
Come on.
I'm going with ham.
Just once a year, at least?
My meat is definitely going to be ham. Turkey is too dry for me, so I mean I have to pour like a bucket of gravy on it to be able to eat it. So
Not a problem.
I'm
Sounds
gonna go with
pretty delicious.
My side dishes are going to be stuffing, scalloped potatoes or cheesy potatoes, broccoli and cheese casserole. Swap it out for the green bean casserole. The green bean
with you.
casserole is awful.
We're doing that at my house this year because nobody eats the green bean
Facts.
casserole except my wife.
Yeah,
It's
it's
awful.
That is facts.
Obviously, finish it off with a Hawaiian roll, some type of roll. You got to have
Yep.
a bread because I make a
Yes.
bunch of sandwiches out of the food.
Oh,
And then drizzle a little bit of gravy, drink, Coke Zero. That's my plate. That's my meal. That'll probably be plate number 1. I'm going to be up like 3 or 4 times. So.
well, we're only giving you one plate here for our make-believe scenario, so try to condense it, Storm. You just got your one plate. How are you filling it up?
Definitely ham. Turkey.
Wow.
Turkey's not the wave.
Wow.
Love ham. I love stuffing. Probably some mashed potatoes on there, corn, and you know I think I'm kind of alone in this one, but I like the cranberry sauce. The cranberry.
I've never had it.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, it's
I might
fire.
try it this year.
It's good.
Cranberry.
Me too.
It's good.
And then any sort of potato they have, and like 50 rolls. I'm all about the rolls. But I think I'm going to try everything this year that we bring to our family Thanksgiving. So I'm excited.
That's the way to do it. Just stack in layers. You know what I mean? Just because you have the one plate doesn't mean that it can't go this way. It can be like a skyscraper. What is that dancing on our screen?
A dancing kebab? Is that a dancing kebab?
I can't figure it out. I'm probably not going to be eating one of those. Travis, what are you going to be eating on Thursday?
Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes and gravy, green bean casserole.
Oh.
Also broccoli casserole, because we get both in my household.
Okay.
A couple rolls, and then pumpkin pie afterwards.
Oh, gotta top
You
it
got
off.
a bunch of Cool Whip on top? Absolutely.
Hayden, I know that you're the gluten-free variety here on our program, so how are you in that side of the galaxy going to be eating?
Thanksgiving, fortunately, is one of those holidays that treats us, honestly, all right as people who can't have gluten. You know, I'll go with turkey and ham if they're both present. Why not? Mashed potatoes. They make gluten-free stuffing, which is not as good as the real thing, but hey, it's Thanksgiving, and that's I don't know. Eat that up, people. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna be rocking with that stuff. Delicious. I mean, even being gluten-free, feast out.
Okay. I'm going to go with some turkey on my plate. I'm not a weirdo. I'm going to get down with the turkey on Turkey Day.
Have fun drinking like 14 like bottles of
That's just
water.
about how it's cooked,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
If your turkey's dry, we gotta talk to the chef.
Yeah, shout out to my chef, Jory Hollenbeck, going to be smoking it for me slow throughout the entire day, so that's going to be fantastic.
And I'm going to go with some ham, too. I double up my protein, okay? You know.
Double up.
I'm cool with having multiple different proteins going on. And then after that, I need stuffing made by my mother-in-law, Brenda Olive. I don't know exactly how she does it, but I've never seen stuffing quite like this. It's Oklahoma style. There's like mushrooms and other different kind of stuff
I've seen
in
that
there.
before.
I had not ever had it until a couple of Thanksgivings ago. So I want that. Mac and cheese made by my grandma. And it has to be very specific with Longhorn cheddar cheese on top, baked just the way the grandma makes it. And then for me, I like the cranberry sauce, but I need Bob Evans cranberry sauce. The way that
Ooh,
they
there
cut
you
it up
go.
into those tiny little morsels. I will be picking up some from Bob Evans on Thursday. I appreciate you guys so much for being open. That way I can get it. I'm also going to put a bunch of gravy on top, but I put cranberry sauce on everything. So I'm with you guys. I get a lot of rolls. I'll probably eat about 4 sandwiches on my first plate, and I'll just stack everything. I want everything that I just said all stacked together, and it's just juicy, and it just drips everywhere. And if I only get one plate, I'm just going to grab a piece of pumpkin pie and take it with me. I'm going to get a little dollop of whipped cream, too, because
a
that is
little?
the go-to. Yeah. I'm told I don't get pie this
That's a
year.
load of junk.
Apple pie.
So that's a shame, but that's how I'm going to be eating.
Ice cream and apple pie.
Well, before we get out of here, guys, let's take a quick moment and just let the folks know how you are going to be spending Thanksgiving, G-Man. What's your tradition?
It's usually just some family over at my house. We typically watch the Lions storm, just for Storm to see them get absolutely destroyed. I mean, it's basically just chowing down, hanging with family, playing some games, and watching some football. Especially the food part, though. That's my favorite.
Do the Lions sometimes make you lose your appetite, Storm?
No, like most Michigan sports, you just accept it.
Yeah.
It
It's a
just
perfect
happens.
anthem.
I'm not going to let it ruin my Thanksgiving, but usually I wake up and then I hear the plan for my mom and then I get ready and then I do whatever my mom says. So that's pretty much my tradition.
It's always smart to follow your mom's directions, because I'm sure she's the one making all the food. I still don't know what that thing is. Travis, you're going. You have Thanksgiving the day before Thanksgiving this year?
Well,
Doing
so my mom works on Thanksgiving, and since my brother and I will be in, we're going to do our Thanksgiving on Wednesday, and then I will be going to my dad's house on Thursday afternoon to have the second Thanksgiving, watch football, be back here on Friday for a big basketball game.
Yeah, I wonder why you don't have like a slim, girlish figure. 2 Thanksgiving dinners?
Hey,
Come on, Trev.
I'm living, man. We got a cow now?
Very similar as G. Just gonna be watching football, hanging with family, get multiple Thanksgivings, multiple families. So I'm not complaining. More food.
Yeah. Sometimes the parent breakup, it pays off in the
There's
long
some
run.
good
Like
things. Yeah.
you and Travis getting those multiple meals. All right. Well, I bumped into an old friend of mine yesterday while watching the Browns game. Mom, too, Martha, what's up? She invited us to Thanksgiving at her house. So our plans initially were just going to be at home. I don't know if we're going to do that anymore. I think we're going to end up over at Martha's for 2 meals. So I guess we're going to dance our way out of here. So thanks for watching the OH.Report video podcast. Enjoy your Thanksgiving week and a lot of live streams on our airwaves. Bye.